This video is sponsored by the coldest water. Honestly, I did not plan on filming a full-length video today. I've already filmed like 5 short videos and I did a bunch of extra work on top of that. But this is one of those situations where I had to pull the camera out because I just made a very strong connection from within that may or may not benefit some of you guys watching this. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because I was just now watching a video from Aaron Dowdy and Leor Alexandra. Shout out to them, they're great content creators. They definitely helped me out during my spiritual awakening, and this is my first time watching them in a long time because I've been very focused on creating content as opposed to consuming content. And that's the essence of what I want to talk about in this video. Now, their video is about balancing the divine feminine and masculine energies. And that's definitely been a topic of interest for me for a while, especially after going through heartbreak for the first few times. It kind of helped me to give myself a more reasonable explanation. Something that truly made sense and allowed me to find the balance from within, which allowed me to manifest the relationship that I'm in right now. But also, it allowed me to grow my YouTube channel. Now, the video is great and I'll link it in the description. I recommend all of you guys watch that. But there was one thing in particular that really stuck out to me. At the very end of the video, Aaron said something along the lines of he lacked attention as a kid and he wanted it so bad that when he got older, he used his YouTube channel to not only create a successful situation or a sense of security for him and his family, but also to give himself the attention that he always desired. And that's something that I haven't been shy about talking about on my channel. As a kid, I wanted validation more than anything at all. And what I'm realizing now is that YouTube is my drug in a sense. It's very productive because it allows me to help other people out and create a sense of security for myself and create a life of freedom for myself and inspire other people to do the same. But at the same time, I have to wonder how much it's feeding into that subconscious desire for validation and attention. And I thought that I had gotten rid of that, and that's why I'm successful. But maybe the only reason why I'm successful is because I haven't gotten rid of that. And that's definitely something that made me question the entirety of my existence, because YouTube and anyone who is a part of my life consistently at this point will tell you that YouTube is my life. YouTube takes up the majority of my time. Even if I'm not filming or editing videos, I'm talking about YouTube. I almost always find a way to bring it up in every conversation because it's such an important part of my life. And YouTube has been there for me in times of great distress. And I cannot stress that enough. When I was going through my first heartbreak, I never felt that alone in my life. But YouTube was there for me. And that's why I'm so loyal to this platform. You see, one thing about me is that I'm a very loyal person. When I develop an attachment to something, that attachment is extremely strong. It is very, very strong. And I'm sure that any girl who I've been infatuated with in the past that tried to sever ties with me would tell you that. I'm not the type of person that gives up on something that I care about. And YouTube has turned into that thing. I recently made a video talking about my experiences with simping. And at the end of that video, for those of you guys who watched it to the end, I talked about how I learned to transmute my desires for women into a desire for success via YouTube. But now I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's all coming from the same place. It's all coming from a desire for validation. And I'm also starting to wonder if I can ever truly get rid of that, because what I'm realizing is that if you're around other people, that desire will always be there subconsciously because it's a survival mechanism. It's ingrained into our biology because back in, primitive times, if you didn't receive validation from other people, you had to fend for yourself. And we didn't have the tools and resources to do that. So essentially, if you were cast out from your tribe, that was a death sentence. But obviously nowadays it's not really like that, but I just noticed that those patterns remain the same. Even though we've developed a lot intellectually and we can consciously be aware of these thought patterns, that doesn't mean that we can get rid of them completely. Now, I've done a lot of different things to try to rid myself of that attachment to validation from other people. I cut my hair. I dropped out of school. I quit my job. I got off social media. I did a lot of things that I thought were allowing me to give myself the validation that I always seeked. But now I'm starting to wonder if all of that was a facade to masquerade the fact that I was still seeking out that validation. And by consciously avoiding external validation, maybe I was seeking it more than ever. Maybe by getting off of social media, I was trying to draw more attention to myself because I was one of the only people doing that in my age range. It's not a very common thing. And by putting myself out there for the world to see, I'm not only craving validation, but I'm making my entire livelihood and any sense of security contingent upon validation. I have to have validation. But at the same time, that's the way that the economy works. If I want to make a living, I have to receive validation. If I were to create a product right now, you guys would have to like it in order to want to buy it and spend your money on it and provide me and any person that I pay or anybody that I'm responsible for a sense of security. If you want to go and get a job, what do you have to do? You have to put in the application. You have to go and do the interview. You're putting yourself out there and relying on other people's validation. And I always talk about how bad that is, but maybe it's not something to be avoided. Maybe it's something to simply be aware of. Because with doing something like YouTube, as I said earlier, I'm helping out a lot of people. I get emails every day from people telling me that I've helped them. I've helped them change their lives. I've helped create a positive impact for them. Or if nothing else, I've been a positive role model. And to me, that's the most rewarding thing. But at the same time, none of that will be possible without validation. None of that will be possible because without validation, none of you guys will watch my channel. None of you would be watching this video because you wouldn't care what I have to say. Now, I also want to talk about how that's affected my love life. Now, in the past, as I've said before in many videos, I had problems with developing codependencies on women. And I think the reason why is because my YouTube channel wasn't very big, so I had nowhere else to receive that validation from. And when I first got a taste of it, when I got a taste of validation for the first time from women in particular, I became addicted to it. That's all I wanted. And I remember every time I would start talking to a girl, I would put YouTube on the back burner. Everything else I would let go of because I only wanted that. I only wanted the attention from that one person. And that clinginess and that neediness drove those people away. Or if nothing else, it exposed their commitment issues. But also it exposed my commitment issues, my inability to commit to myself, to giving myself that validation, to filling my own cup. Now, when those situations all failed, what did I do? I turned to the only thing that had stuck with me through that time, which was YouTube. YouTube was all I had, and YouTube became my first girlfriend. It truly did, and I said that a lot, but I meant it. People thought I was joking. I wasn't. YouTube became my first girlfriend, and it was a very loyal girlfriend, and it was willing to grow with me in the way that I wanted. And it reflected me and my efforts. If I put in a lot of effort into this platform, it reciprocated that back to me, and that's all I wanted. All I ever wanted was to have that energy reciprocated back to me. But at the same time, I feel like being in a relationship or just any other situation in my life, it gets put on the back burner because of YouTube. Now, that's not to say that I don't enjoy the relationship that I'm in, or that I don't enjoy the friendships that I have, or the family that I have, or I don't enjoy living my life, but oftentimes I find it difficult to indulge in simple pleasures because I'm so focused on YouTube. It's what's on my mind at all times because I'm attached to it, because it's my source of validation. And it continues to grow. The more I feed into it, the more it gives back to me. And I have to wonder how good that really is for my mental health, but at the same time, it's inescapable. You can't get away from the desire for validation. If you want to be a part of society, validation is inherent of that. And like I said earlier, I think that just being aware of this is the most important thing. Because if you look within you, the chances are we all have that trait. We all desire validation. Most of the people that consume self-development content probably have inferiority complexes, and that's why we want to get better. One thing that I like to say is that self-development is really dating advice in disguise. Self-development is almost always based on dating in some way, shape, or form, or it can always be traced back to the desire for female validation, or on the flip side of that, male validation. And once you think about it like that, you never really see things the same way again. You start to ask yourself those questions that you need to be asking. Am I doing this for me, or am I doing this so that I can receive validation from a woman? Am I doing nofap because I want to better my life and overcome my addiction? Or am I doing nofap because I want female attraction? All of these things are subconscious, and it takes a lot of digging. You have to be willing to dig into your own mind, and you're going to expose a lot of different things that you may not be comfortable acknowledging, but it's part of your self-growth process. Self-development starts with self-awareness. You have to know who you are and know what issues you have, what traumatic events may have wounded you, and what wounds you still need to heal. And then you can take action from there. And that's something that I'm learning to do to this day. And I mean, we're all doing that. This self-development journey is not something that you just do just to get better and then you go on about your life. This is a lifelong process. Once you start it, you're in it for life. Unless you simply ignore your problems, which that doesn't get you anywhere. You're just staying in the same place anyways. And maybe some people are okay with that. Maybe some people are okay with being complacent and not growing. But I'm not.